Sitting back in the corner.
Stand up, Steve.
More soul.
Actually, co-founder with Mary Ann Walsh, as Herb mentioned. Do you want me to say a few words at this point?
Sure.
That'd be great. Our beginning, Mary Ann and I both worked for Right to Life. I started out in Clark County with Vivian's mother, and that's how I met Vivian. And Mary Ann had worked in Dayton Right to Life for many, many years. And this was, I started in the late 70s, Chuck, kind of like you, but I was at the end of a 20-year Air Force career. So I put in a few years before you did, doing something else. But included in those years, I wanted to mention that I spent 3 years as a graduate student at Purdue, and there were 65, 66, and 67. Bob Greasy was our quarterback for the first 2 years, and of those 3 years, he beat Notre Dame twice. So.
You're dredging at some really tough plays.
But anyway, getting back to the subject of interest here. So Mary Ann and I were both active trying to stop abortion. And we worked together at Dayton Right to Life in the early 80s. And one day, actually this was 80, 85, 90, and Jack Wilkie was in our eyesight too, because again, Vivian and I, one of the first things we did when we were dating was to get Wilkie slides and offer our services to the parishes around the Dayton area. I don't know that we got too many gigs, but it was, I have great respect for Jack and Martha Wilkie. But in 1993, I think it was, Mary Ann and I were talking on the phone. I remember this very clearly. And we had been anti-abortion. And one of us, and I don't know which one it was, said, well, I think contraception's a root cause for abortion. And it rang true with both of us. And very soon after that, we made the commitment that we would spend the rest of our active lives trying to stop abortion by stopping contraception. And so we really didn't know what to do because it was an issue neither of us had dealt with. Mary Ann was a mother of 10. I'm eventually a father to 13, 14, something like that. And all of us who are sexually active probably have more children than you know about, because Wilkie says that 40% of all conceptions miscarriage before you even know you're pregnant. And so we'll have some children in heaven when we get there that we'll not recognize. So Mary Ann and I started to look for resources that could help us explain how contraception leads to abortion. But it wasn't, and we didn't realize that the Supreme Court proclaimed that the year before, 1992. Casey versus Planned Parenthood. They said we have to have abortion for failed contraception. Contraception is part of our culture. It fails. Every contraceptive fails sometimes. And so we have to have abortion as a backup. But I was fortunate to go to a celebration of the 25th anniversary of Humani Vitae, the Catholic encyclical by Pope Paul VI that restated the Church's 2,000-year position on contraception. And there I met Janet Smith, who taught at Notre Dame for about 10 years. Helped start a pregnancy support center there, by the way. I don't know if you know that, but I mean, she's very pro-life and very successful. But she couldn't get tenure because she was too active. She picketed something on campus with the students, and I think that did her in. And interestingly, she wrote an article just recently in a theological journal about Ralph McInerney. Do either of you have him as a professor at Notre Dame?
I knew it, but I didn't take it.
I know who he is.
He's
He's
an icon at Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's true.
And he was on her side when she was there and tried to help her, but she eventually ended up at the University of Dallas and then Now she's teaches at the seminary, Sacred Heart Seminary in Detroit. But we eventually brought Janet Smith to Ohio in 1994, and she did a statewide tour. And from that tour, we got a tape of one of her talks that we call Contraception, Why Not? And it was such a success that we distributed over 1 million copies, originally on videotape and magnetic audio tape, and on CDs and DVDs, and translated into Spanish, and da-da-da-da-da. So we found that resource. We found other resources by Janet Smith that were very helpful. And we started to expand our inventory. And last year we had a catalog that I'll pass around. It's got lots of pages. And I brought a few of our resources along. I think Ruth mentioned Dr. Chris Kallenborn and his book, Breast Cancer, It's Linked to Abortion and the Birth Control Pill. Nobody else would publish this book when we're still published it. It's still the definitive work on the link between breast cancer and abortion and the birth control pill. So, again,
It's a work that's being ignored.
it's never been the bestseller you'd expect it should be.
It's hard to read, but the truth of it is,
Well, I don't think it's hard to read. It's question and answers, and it's not really that difficult to read. But and that was published probably, I don't know, almost 10 years ago maybe. And then in 2006 or 2007, he was able to publish a meta-analysis of the link between breast cancer and the birth control pill in the Mayo Clinic Proceedings, very prestigious journal. And again, he thought, this will do it. But again, it's ignored. It's totally ignored. And it's just a tragedy because women die every month because of breast cancer. And still this Susan Love, Dr. Susan Love in the Dayton Daily News states we don't know what causes it. We just don't know what causes it. We have to keep looking for the cause. We look for a cure. This chart.
Oh, wait a minute, you're not implying that it causes all breast cancer.
No, I'm not saying that. No, I mean there are lots of women that
it's gone up by 40% or something like that.
the increased risk for a woman that's been on the birth control pill for 4 years prior to a full-term pregnancy is 44% increased risk. And the longer she's been on the pill before she's had a full-term pregnancy, the higher the risk. And if she had an abortion in addition to having been on hormonal birth control, the risk is
before the first full-term pregnancy.
astronomical. So this is a chart of contraception and divorce. Is there a connection? It's a chart of divorce rate versus time going back to the 1860s. It shows the divorce rate growing slowly throughout the late 19th century and the first half of the 20th century. And all of a sudden, well, there's the war period in here and so forth, but here in 1960, between 1965 and 1975, the divorce rate doubles. Why? The birth control pill. 1960, the birth control pill came out. Virtually, lots of them went on it. And as a result, you're trying to separate the what I would call the essential purpose of the marriage act, the act of sexual intercourse, trying to separate it from the act itself. And it goes against natural law, it goes against the Bible, it goes against Catholic Church teaching, and there's a price to pay. The first book we ever published is called Physicians Healed. It's 15 physicians describing why they don't prescribe birth control pills. And they're just powerful stories. Many other physicians have been converted to this philosophy because they read this book. So, and we have a number of CDs, pamphlets that I have put out here on the table. Invite you all to look at those and help yourself, take me home if you'd like. But I guess I'm supposed to ask for money. I'm the world's worst asker for money, but One More Soul has done a lot of great things in the last 16 years. We have a directory online of over 500 doctors that don't prescribe the birth control of any kind, not refer for abortion or sterilization or IVF. We have lots of resources that we offer to parishes and dioceses, priests,